When I get to work, I'm like a maniac.
Hi everyone, I'm so happy to have you all here with me today. Today's topic is don't change the people, change the workplace. I'm going to address neurodiversity, why so many diversity trainings fail despite good intentions, and how we can create a truly brain-friendly workplace. So welcome to all of you. I hope many of you are back from last sessions. I've now moved these sessions to once a month rather than every week. So make sure to not miss them. Let's get started right away. So let me share my presentation with you. So basically, when I worked in consulting, I attended a women leadership training. And what we were told was to speak in a low voice, make a very serious face. So whenever we were laughing, our coach was telling us, don't smile, it makes you weak. You know, people are going to think that you're a weak person and not a leader. So we learned to speak in a very low voice, and we learned to clap each other on the back. And it was very artificial. Basically, we were learning to play by the rules and to behave in a way that wasn't natural to us. And I think that's one of the reasons why so many diversity trainings fail, because they try to change people rather than looking at who they are and trying to make them better based on what they're good at. Just some statistics here. A study with 829 companies in the US and over 31 years, so quite long, showed that diversity training had zero impact. So that's quite depressing. I'm not saying that in your company and your efforts and your company are not working. There are sure some places where it works, but apparently all of these efforts to tell women and minorities to lean in or people to be less biased, there's no clear correlation with success rates here. And so I thought that was a very fun comment from The Economist, where they said the 12 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from human resources and I'm here to organize a diversity workshop. I'd like to hear from you. Are there any comments from your side? Do you like diversity training? Has it been useful? Have you seen any real impact in your company, or has it been a strange experience? Let's see if there's any comments coming in from your side. For now. Otherwise, I know there's always a bit of a time delay of the comments coming in and I can't see them. So let's see them coming in. For today, I want to show you solutions. So I'm not going to bash diversity training. I just think we can do things differently by not asking people to change, but by simply changing the work environment that people are in and making things better that way. So let me show you 5 different drivers to how we can improve diversity without having to change a single person in the company. So today's session is about human beings. So it's not just about men and women or minorities or age or race or any of this. I'm more thinking we are all human. We all want to be happy at work and we want to bring in different opinions. So let's see how we can make it happen. One way to look at it is to look at how the brain works. And those of you who've been following my work, I think I must have shown you this curve where we can see that, stress levels and performance are correlated. So it goes like this. We need optimal stress levels in order to perform at our best. And what that means is that you need to be not bored out, not stressed out. We need to get it just right. And when people just get it right, they get their best thinking. You lose the concept of time. You're fully present here and now, and you love what you do. But here's the thing. Some people are over here. They love to be challenged. They love to be stressed out. They want to be constantly exploring new territory. And we can find those people very often at the top of organizations, extreme sport, like rock climbers, investment banks. We all know people like this who are very driven and who love to work a lot. And then we have people over here who don't like change as much and who like to really focus on one topic at a time. And I've said this before, but it's not about who's more high performing. It's more under which conditions you reach that. Over here to the left, you can think about Nobel Prize winning scientists, best-selling authors, people who really go deep into a topic and don't like constant change and constant hustle. So here's the thing. And that's something I think you haven't heard before. There are 4 chemicals that influence where we fall on that curve. To the right, we have 2. So we have dopamine here. If you have a very active dopamine system, sorry, I see it's cut off, but I will fix it. So dopamine will push you to the right. Dopamine will make you want to crave new experiences because it's a neurochemical that makes us seek new experiences. And the same is true for testosterone. So people who have a very active testosterone system, let's just put a T here, they also enjoy constant change and challenge. And by the way, men have a lot of testosterone, obviously, but women have it too. And those women who really love these competitive environments often have a very active testosterone system, and that's healthy, by the way. So it's not just about men and women, it's actually more about your neurochemical signature. And to the left, we have people who are high in serotonin. Serotonin is a substance that helps us to stabilize our mood. It reduces anxiety. It makes us very loyal and trustworthy and reliable. And then we have estrogen and oxytocin system. And these are 4 brain systems that really influence what kind of work environment we want. So if people more to the left have a more active estrogen oxytocin system and a more active serotonin system. And the ones to the right are more into dopamine and testosterone. And what you can think about this is that we all have a neurochemical signature that is a bit of a genetic predisposition of what kind of work we like, what kind of working style we have, our personality. And as we know, in real life, it's not all about genetics, it's also about environment. So these things can change over time as you get older, as you make new experiences. So it doesn't determine who you are, but it sure contributes to your personality and your working style. So what we can say is it's not so much a one-size-fits-all situation. And I think right now with diversity, we're always assuming everybody is the same and we just need to treat everyone the same way. When in reality, maybe it's about treating people differently. Some people like a fast-paced environment, and those are the ones I would say who succeed in the corporate world. So we have the people high on dopamine and testosterone, men and women alike. And then we have those higher in serotonin and estrogen. And I would say the bias is not necessarily against women. It's probably against people with an active estrogen system and a serotonin system. So I look at things a bit differently. And it's not about putting people into boxes. It's more about looking at your predisposition, what kind of work environment you like. So I think today I'd like to look at what kind of work environment we really need in order to be happy, and how we can change the workplace so that it naturally attracts people who are different from the normal, let's say, dopamine, testosterone folks we usually find at the top. I hope this was clear. Let's see if there's any questions at this point before we move on with our presentation. So I see here, Alejandro, hi. Many HR believe their work, oh no, it's gone again, believe their work is only focused on hiring. I think that many organizations have not even considered people's well-being as part of their duties. Yes, exactly. And I think this is true for hiring, this is true for promotion. When people are happy, they work better. And we should understand that people are different, want different things, and so why don't we give it to them? I don't believe so much in changing people. I'm more about the pull effect. I think you should create a workplace that attracts people. So let's take a look at how we can make it happen. Can you please tell me, is there really inverse relationship between serotonin and acetylcholine? Well, not necessarily between acetylcholine and serotonin. It's more between serotonin and dopamine. But people can have both systems active on the same time. What you have to understand is that with neurochemicals, there's always a balance. For example, a very fun example is in bodybuilding. You know, these bodybuilders, they take testosterone supplements, at least those who do go on steroids. And what you have is you drive your testosterone levels up, and then your body compensates by also driving your estrogen levels up. And then when you go off the testosterone, because they go in cycles, you suddenly have this insane high estrogen values, and your body really gets out of balance. So you're going from being really high on testosterone to being really high on estrogen. So whenever you influence your neurochemical balance, other things will get off balance. So let's move on and let's see what we can actually do to create what I like to call the brain-friendly workplace. And here you can, that's something I also wanted to show you. What we can see is that these neurochemicals also correlate to brain areas. So people with an active estrogen system show more activity in brain areas associated with the estrogen system, and people with an active testosterone system show more brain activity in the areas associated with testosterone. So this has been shown in 2 independent studies in the brain scanner by Dr. Helen Fisher and colleagues. And what they could find is that these levels of neurochemicals also corresponds to activity in your brain regions. It goes back to animals. Animals have that too. It's a very old, ancient way of wiring in our brain that we still have up to this day. So let's take a look at how we can actually create change and create a work environment that is truly attractive for people of all different neurochemical signatures. What do you think in an 8-hour workday, and this was actually pre-COVID, how many hours a day did people actually work? Yeah, any idea? I can tell you. It seems to be just 2 hours and 53 minutes. So what this means is that people spend a huge amount of time actually not working at all if they're just in the office for 8 hours. And I actually looked down at how the time was broken down. And here's, you can see it, reading the news more than 1 hour a day in the office at your desk. Social media takes up almost an hour. If I move a bit over here, you can see it. Chat with colleagues about non-work related issues takes up a lot of time. Well, back when people went to the office, okay? Job search, I think, was like 26 minutes. Calls to partner and friends, 18 minutes. Text messages, snacks, and preparing food. So people were just working for roughly 3 hours a day, and for 5 remaining hours they did all kind of other things. And I think we've all seen that in offices, that it's not all really productive. People sometimes just go there 9 to 5 because they think they have to be there. So here's what I think we should do about it. If you look at it, I think it was last year, Microsoft made a pilot and they introduced a 4-day work week. And here's what they found. Productivity increased by 40%. So I think we should work smarter, not harder. We should actually switch from a presence culture to an outcome culture and think more about what it is I want to achieve and do rather than being present. And now with COVID and everybody working from home, I think this means not measuring people's impact on whether they're always available for a Zoom chat or whether they're always at their desk, more thinking, how much value does this person bring to this job, and are they delivering on that promise? For which country was that statistics? I don't know. I will have to look it up. I just saw, I think it was in the UK. I have put in the presentation, you can see the sources. I can also put up the sources later. I think it was a UK study, but I would say it's rather universal. Wherever, I've worked for many companies, and back when I actually used to physically visit them, I was always surprised to see how much time people spend chatting, drinking coffee, doing meetings that are really irrelevant. So I think we can cut down a bit on that if we really want to. So that's my number one point. I think we need to move away from working 80-hour weeks. or being always there, being always on, and measuring that as a part of our success and our presence, I think we should go and think about, what do I need to do to really deliver impact, and think about outcome culture rather than presence culture. So let's see what's next. I will show you this. So in one study, and there's lots of studies that show that physical exercise actually influences our brain, not just our body, but our brain. In one study, what they did is they actually instructed rats to lift weights. And they did this by putting little weights on their rear legs. And then they put up a 1 meter ladder, and they received a Fruit Loop at the top of the ladder. So these rats were climbing the ladder with weights on their feet. And then after a while, they injected the mice with inflammatory medicine, so that produced a bit of dementia. And then they compared a group of rats that has been training and a group of rats that has not been weightlifting. And they found that the rats who have been lifting weights actually had better performance at a rat IQ test later on, where they had to find a dark space in a maze. And what you can see is that actually weightlifting has a neuroprotective impact. So if you work out physically, if you move physically, your brain is going to perform better. And that's something I really don't see happening in organizations. We have known this now for, I would say, over a decade. I wrote about it in my first book, and nothing has changed. I don't think people are working out at their desk or doing anything like this. But I can show you one person who actually does that. And here's my friend Jamie Anderson. He's a top athlete. He competes in cycling. He's really competitive, really good. I always see him, winning different races. But he's also working as a speaker, and he's a family man with gorgeous kids and a loving husband. So how does he spend all these hours working out? Because in order to be a top athlete, you need to put in many hours. And here's how he does it. He actually works on his bike. So at his home, he has installed a bike. And if you go on a conference call with him, you will see him answering emails or on Zoom while he's riding his bike. People who know him know this. And I think it's a very genius idea. And I think we should see more of it. Now, Jamie has even taken it to an extra level, and he's now even doing keynote speeches while he is on his bike. I think he calls it, the latest one was called the biking brain. So I think companies could really have better performing people if they allowed people to move more in the office. We're all just sitting down in front of screens. It's not healthy. It doesn't help our performance. I think we can deliver more value in shorter time if we learn to make our body happy. And this, of course, also includes sleep and snacks and things you can do to keep your body healthy. That would also help your brain to be healthy. So that's number 2. So the first one was reducing work hours. I think that's going to attract people who don't want to have these 8-hour weeks. The second thing is, I think we need to learn to make our bodies happy. So we need to respect the fact that your brain will do its best work when we actually, also feel well in our bodies. Oh, Jamie is joining us, and he's saying, I'm on my bike now, Frederica. So I didn't expect anything else. So, he's not like, probably most of us would be just sitting there with a laptop or your phone and watching this. Instead, Jamie is on his bike. He has put up this thing so he can do everything while he's on his bike. I mean, that's genius. More companies should offer situations like this with treadmills and bikes in the office. So let's see what else. I have 5 points for you today. Let's see what else I think companies should do to attract people who are a bit different from the usual crowd who likes to just work a lot and a very competitive environment. Here, Alexis is saying, some of my most productive conference calls happens while I walk my dog. See, that's smart. If you turn off your video function, you can actually take a walk, move around while you speak, instead of just sitting glued to your desk, which is very bad for brain health and, of course, real health too. Okay, Sean is saying, me too. Jamie was real inspiring and guide for me to switch to be self-employed and focus on outcomes, not presence mentally. Well, I can only encourage that. I think many people who are self-employed do that already, but those who work for corporations are not there yet. And I think that's where change could happen. So let's see here, the 83%. What are these 83%? That's the percentage of people who feel stressed out by work. This was actually a study from the US. They had this survey every year by the American Association of Stress, and they look at people's stress levels, how they go up, how they go down. They usually just go up. And I mean, 83% of people feel stressed out by work. And I think that's a huge reason why people drop out, because they're just saying, okay, I could become a manager here. I could have more responsibility. It would be a really fun job. But do I really want to, be so stressed out by all the pressure and by the long working days? And then they just opt out of it. At least a certain type of people opts out of it. So as far as stress is concerned, it actually impacts your brain. So when you're really stressed out, it will literally change your brain structures. And you can see these changes all over your brain. So this was a study that showed that people's cortisol levels, serum cortisol levels, correlates with structural changes in the brain. The impact was stronger for women than for men. We all have a bit different neurophysiology here. So that's one thing to consider. The way we work at the moment is stressing people out, and it's not good for brain performance. So I think we should think about it a bit like that. In order to retain people who actually value their mental and physical health, we need to reduce stress levels. We need to stop worshiping stress. Let's see if there's any comments at this point that we want to draw in here. I think it depends upon the power of your imagination and visualization, how much better you adapt to outcome culture. Yeah, I think anyone could do it. It's not so much about I go to work and I'm paid for sitting there at my desk. It's more about what value do you add? And I think that's an attitude that really everyone who works should have. It's more about what do you really do rather than how much hour you spend doing it. So let's take a look what more I have thought of. So if you think about it in the context of neurodiversity, neurochemical signatures, these are really factors that I think are driving away the people higher in estrogen and serotonin. So the ones who are high in dopamine and testosterone, they love the extra stress. It gives them a thrill. They're almost addicted to it. And there's no judgment here. That's totally okay. All I'm saying is what this leads to is that in the end, at the top of organizations, we only have people who love to put in many hours, who maybe don't put their physical health first. I don't want to overgeneralize here. I know many very high achieving people who then get up at 5 a.m. and put in 2 hours of exercise before they get to the office. So what I'm saying is many people will drop out because it's too long hours, too much stress, too much physical strain. So I'm saying, why don't we change that and then see how more diverse talent comes in automatically? So what else can we do? I have a friend, her name is Wendy, and I met her when we were both expecting our first child, and she was so ambitious. I stopped working a few weeks before giving birth, and I really felt tired, and she was still in conference calls and planning to travel to the US, 4 months after giving birth, and really, really ambitious and talented and driven and motivated, engaged in her work. So I was very surprised when about, I don't know, maybe a year later or so, she had quit her job. Well, why did she quit her job? She quit her job because she didn't like it, because her boss was not understanding. She couldn't do it by her rules, and everything was very frustrating. Her ambition and her engagement wasn't appreciated. And what we can see is that 86% of millennium women have quit cushy corporate jobs because they didn't like it, because they didn't feel it was their thing, because they didn't enjoy it. So one thing we should think about is that money and status alone and power is not going to motivate everyone. And Wendy is now, and that's why I had the picture of the bridal dress. Wendy, she has now a secondhand bridal store that she drives on her own. Everything is sustainable. It's going really well. It has this very cool vibe going on. So she is doing her thing the way she wants it. And I think that's also one factor that we shouldn't underestimate, that people will want to work in a positive work environment. You don't want to have a boss who stresses you out. You don't want to have constant conflict with your coworker. You want to be appreciated. So I think we need to work on that aspect, that people enjoy work, that people enjoy their coworkers, that people have good relationships, that people feel psychologically safe. And then we're going to retain those people who nowadays often choose to drop out, because we know the number one reason why people quit a job is very often their boss. So let's see. So that's my number 4, creating a positive work environment. I think that's very important because many people drop out because they just don't like power play and they don't like this sometimes very harsh and competitive environment you can have at the very top. So let me show you my final point. It's something that I find is hardly ever talked about. I'm not sure why, but it just seems like it's not an issue. So let's enjoy a little video here at this point together. Let me see. I'm going to put it up.
Scandals happen all the time. The question is, how do democracies respond to those scandals?
And what will it mean for the wider region? I think one of your children has just walked in. I mean, shifting sands in the region. Do you think relations with the North may change?
I would be surprised if they do. Pardon me. My apologies.
What's this going to mean for the region?
Scandals happen all the time. The question is, how do democracies respond to those scandals?
And what will it mean for the wider region? I think one of your children has just walked in. I mean, shifting sands in the region. Do you think relations with the North?
Well, what can we say about this? I think this was pre-COVID, so we didn't see something like this happening very often. Children were hardly in the picture, or even family. Some people are taking care of older parents, or some people have kids, and you never see it mentioned in the corporate world. It's all very we leave the family at home, we go to the office, and now our lives have changed. And let's take a look at how our lives look like right now.
The question now is, how do people respond to their scandals?
For the wider region, I think one of your children has just walked in, but I mean, shifting sands in the region, do you think relations with the North may change?
It's unclear at the moment what effect former President Gun-hae's impeachment will have on the territories. Unfortunately, discontent in South Korea is not only related to President Gun-hae's administration.
Okay.
This is a major embarrassment for South Korea, who often criticizes the North of corruption, and who now find themselves in the middle of a massive corruption case themselves.
Sorry, you do look rather busy there. We can reschedule
President Gun-hae is very likely to face jail time too.
Okay.
I would argue, in an attempt to make an example of her.
Right, so what does this all mean for the future of South Korea?
So the future of South Korea really hangs in the balance.
Oh my God, is that a bomb?
And it'll be interesting to see how the North reacts to this new shift in power.
Indeed. Well, this certainly has been... sorry, your husband is...
I anticipate there'll be more to come from this region in the next few months.
Kate Wordsworth, you're obviously busy. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, let's find this sock then.
Okay, so I think we've all been there. I really like those 2 videos because I think they show what our reality looks like these days, especially for parents. And, I think we should think about the factor that it's almost impossible to have a high-powered job, regardless of whether you're a man or a woman, and to really be present in your kids' lives. It's almost impossible with long work hours. Childcare pickup times are really in the way. And if you really work long hours, it's almost impossible and incompatible. And I think that should change. So if we reduce work hours, if we reduce stress levels, if we change to an outcome culture, if we create a more positive work environment, we should also find ways to integrate kids and family life and other things that matter to us in life into our work life. It should be possible to have it all. I really hope this change will happen. And I just want to show you one very encouraging study that wasn't directly diversity training, but it was something that really had an immediate impact on people's lives. And here's how it went. Google increased their maternity leave policy by 2 months. So 2 months of paid maternity leave. And they had 50% less attrition of women. Boom, like this, not a single day of diversity training. They just changed the work environment and people decided to stay there. So I think that's one way I'd like to look at it more. Create a work environment that will attract people, create a work environment that people truly enjoy, and then you will get more diverse talent naturally. So my number 5 is, don't forget about the kids. Who should be in charge of fixing the work environment? Leadership teams, HR. Well, let's look at it this way. With human nature, I would say people always follow change more deliberately if it comes from the top. So I would always start from the top. But then at the same time, we can also have an impact from the bottom. I mean, HR, of course, leaders, of course, whoever thinks that's a good idea could try it out in their direct environment and see what happens. But of course, it's impossible for someone to do this when the people at the top don't approve. So ideally, I think change should start from the top because it just makes it easier for everyone else. So let's just recap. I'm saying we can create a brain-friendly work environment by switching to outcome culture, making your body happy, stop worshiping stress, creating a positive work environment, and not forgetting about the kids or family and other areas of your life in general. Here's my final message to you. Don't change the people, change the workplace. So that's my message for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments. If you liked today's
Scandals
session,
happen all the time.
I
The
hope,
question is, how do
I just
democracies...
hit the wrong button. So I've installed this new little system here. Here we go. I actually wanted to say, if you enjoyed this, then, follow me on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter so that you're always informed when I do the next one of these sessions. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. The next session will be on March 26th at 10 a.m. CET, so same time as this one, always the last Friday of the month. And I'm wishing you a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you soon again.